There it is. Now I hit this double.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Want to call the March regular meeting of LMAC to order. Thank you for being here in person and online. Quick reminder that this is being recorded. Our chair, Mary Roy, is coming in and out with participation online, but she asked if I could help facilitate this meeting in person. So I'll have to do that as vice chair. It seems like in an informal roll call, we have one, right?
Yes, we do have one, so as long as Muffy stays.
As long as Muffy stays. I just want to call attention to the agenda. This was for tonight's meeting. It looks like we have a presentation by Savannah Kitchen. And on the pond weed, we have some unfinished business, I think, that needs some additional clarification. Some items. And then the new business, we have a couple of new things to add, so we'll review that. Are there any questions on the agenda? No, hearing none, let's move to the first item there, the minutes. Minutes of the minutes of the February 4th meeting. They were distributed by ame packet. Mary sent out on February 20th. Part of the pre-meeting materials. Just call if there's any corrections. Henry.
I'd like to move that approval of the minutes be postponed until next month, because we should be filing with the minutes copies of all of the reports that are referenced in there. And there were some that needed to have adjustments and amendments made. And so I think it would be best if we just defer that to the next meeting and people can pass along. I can give Phyllis my comments here, other people can pass along, where we should review them again with the attachments so that everybody knows that the attachments were what they thought they were.
So you're saying that it's not just the notation of the minutes, but it's the actual attachments that correspond to those that related.
Right, if it were a matter of just putting on an attachment, we could deal with that now, but some of the attachments had amendments and some of the attachments had further edits that were being discussed and so forth, and so there were changes made after the meeting, and they should be submitted to make sure that everybody agrees with what was done. I think it's ministerial, but it's appropriate to create the proper record and to have an ability to go back and see what we actually approved. One of our problems in this town is looking back 5 years and trying to find out whether something got approved or not, because nothing was attached to the minute. And so we routinely have to discipline ourselves to do that.
Henry, could you give an example? I'm a little confused as to.
Yes. The ground rules for audience participation are not attached. The LMAC mission statement, which had some friendly amendments that were to be incorporated, and the contents of all 6 or 7 points should be attached to the document to be part of the record of the meeting. And similarly, the dam control policy had a few edits that were going to be made post meeting, and it should be attached as part of it. And the minutes are not accurate in referring to the mission statement, because all that's quoted as being the mission statement at the moment in the minutes is the preamble to it. And under new business, the LMAC budget, I would prefer to see more detail there. It ought to refer to the TRC proposed budget attached, And it ought to specifically, because we spend time doing this, reference which one of those we chose to proceed on and which ones we decided to defer on. And that's not, to me, clear the way the minutes are written.
Sure. Understood. Okay. May I make a suggestion? May I make a suggestion that we have a motion to defer until April, and we will go back and review the February data and video and ensure that we have accurate information. It was certainly my intent, and I know Phyllis's intent, to provide accurate information. So we'll do the best that we can to ensure that.
Nobody's criticizing, it's just ministerial, and that, before you came on,
Sure.
that was the motion I made.
All right, so I think Henry's motion, I'll take yours as a second, because it seemed like it mirrored, Mary, your words mirrored what Henry's were, so you'll be the second on that. Any further discussion? I may have seen this on our LMAC website, but I thought there was, or the town website under LMAC, there were some things that were loaded up that website, and I wasn't sure if it was any of the materials.
Yeah, some of that was, I believe, but they weren't finished.
They weren't finished.
They weren't finished, yeah. We had discussed it and it really was never finished.
There's no other.
I have a point of order for Mark Walter. Mark, we submit 1 week before recommendations to prepare for the meeting and readings. That included, for example, the mission statement, the meeting guidelines, the audience of citizens, etc. Do those become part of the permanent record because you and Jennifer are copied on those? That's point one. Point two, then what Henry is saying is once we agree and have amendments, we'll have to update that, and that should also be provided to the town as attachments.
I have to see, because when we post our minutes, I think it's just the minutes, which are your motions, and I don't think it's all the entire packet of the meeting.
The appropriate thing is to attach those things that were presented to the meeting that were approved and adopted, so that you have a track record. And if something was worked on as a draft and submitted, and it was a document that was being discussed, it should be attached to, but not attached as approved.
Sure.
Because that's the way you create the legislative record to make sense of things 10 years from now.
And
Okay.
what I wanna do is sit down with Jennifer and just see how she's saving everything electronically for every meeting, and how she's tracking all the attachments. Like right now, everybody has a packet for this meeting, but that whole packet isn't normally referenced with the minutes. But I see what
Correct.
I'm saying. If you're voting on a mission statement, you should be able to find it.
Yeah,
As part of the minutes.
yeah, I've always sent, if there were attachment, I've always sent those along with the minutes. And that's what we just didn't have this trip around.
Okay. But I think it's also good practice to make reference in the minutes that they are attached or
Correct.
incorporated, so that as somebody reads the minutes, they look for the document, and if it's not
There's
there,
clean reference.
yes.
I did send minutes over to the town and referencing that there were additional documents that would be sent. But we just never finished them.
Correct.
Mary,
So to move along, motion to defer and to re-edit the minutes from February 2nd, 2026. And once the motion's done, we can work with Mark and Phyllis on that. Phyllis, I can catch up with you.
Yeah, that's
Because I
fine.
thought I provided the information, but there's some semantics in that, but it's not worth the time to discuss right now.
No,
So, motion by Henry, second by Mary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you, Henry.
The second item on the agenda that we'll cover is the communications. Mary, I think this is something, this is your area,
Is he asking me?
under communications, talking about the vice chair role.
Okay, Savannah, you're with us.
No, he's asking you about the vice chair role.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I'm
maybe.
sorry. Obviously, Muffy and I are a little travel weary. We have a 3 a.m. wake up. which
Yeah,
is-
but we can't leave because they don't have a quorum otherwise.
Oh, okay.
So-
We'll try to stay on as long as we can. I've asked Frank to please take over this meeting from a facilitation point of view. We certainly will try to weigh in, but we'll try to be silent listeners and learners to the best of our ability. So far, the connection is good. I lost mine, so I had to come back and join Muffy. So Frank, the meeting is yours. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Mary. You're really reaching deep in your bench here, pulling me up to the chair of the meeting tonight. But really appreciate all the hard work that you put in, but also everybody's put in. From this perspective and seeing a meeting evolve, we only meet once a month, but to be productive, it's great to see all the work that everybody in the committees do, subcommittees, the staff, Mark and Jen. Thank you for all your work in getting material out to everyone. So just thank you. I have a new perspective of this as a new member of the board, right? What goes into it, and appreciate all that's makes me feel more impactful and meaningful participation by all that's done ahead of time. So thank you. Liz Downturn, yes. Savannah, welcome. Welcome to our booth. Savannah's the kitchen is the zoning and wetlands official for the town. And you were going to provide us report on the pilot program conducted last season on the clasping pond weeds. So,
Yeah.
Savannah, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction and thanks for having me tonight. I am happy to chat about what we did last year in terms of managing the nuisance pondweed in the lake. And I am careful to call it a nuisance because while it is annoying, understandably, it is a native plant. So I think the theme of what I have to say tonight is that we're walking a line here where we want to maintain a nice swim area and recreational ability in the lake while also maintaining the natural biodiversity of the lake. So I wanted to start by touching on this report, which really summarizes what happened last year for anyone who's not aware. And it was a program that we threw together pretty last minute. We were happy to be able to get something out to residents so that they could address this pondweed issue in their swim areas. We had heard that it had become really a nuisance when you're trying to go out and swim and you're constantly, getting your feet stuck in weeds. So the thought behind this was, and I have to thank Mary for bringing this to my attention. A lot of it was close coordination with her and Mark Walter to make this happen. So thank you both. And the thought really was, how do we pull this weed, get it out without using too invasive methods like chemical or mechanical harvesting, which would be a little more detrimental to the lake and the lake bed. So to give you just a little background on pondweed, I already told you a little bit. It has leaf blades that clasp the stem of the plant. That's why it gets its name. It spreads really easily during its seeding period of late July to August. And then it's really vital to the ecosystem of the lake. It stabilizes the sediments at the bottom of the lake bed, and it provides food and habitat for fish and other macroinvertebrates, crustaceans, and even avian species. So it's definitely important to the biodiversity of the lake and maintaining, those nutrient levels where they should be. Plants were really functional for that. At its current status, and I was trying to find out what year this study was from. I think it was the last few years, but TRC has looked at the abundance of the plant in the lake, and currently it's about 11% of Columbia Lake is occupied by the plant. So it's not considered excessive by any means, but it's not being excessive, it could still be a nuisance. So we looked at ways that residents could remove the plant to make their swimming areas a little more fun, easier to use. And the recommendations that we got from TRC were to use a raking and cutting method or a hand pulling method. So that's really what we focused on last year. We did a pilot program where several residents in the area were able to actually go out there and either by raking or hand harvesting in various sort of ways, which are listed out in the report that each of you has in your packet. They would remove the pond weed and hopefully they would remove it from the lake entirely so that it didn't float off to someone's house down the way. And then dispose of it properly, compost. And then if done correctly, it wouldn't grow back as quickly, especially if we got it pre-seeding. Last year we had to do it pretty last minute, so we gave up until July 15th for harvesting, which was a little later than we would like. It's pretty close to the time that it would be seeding. So I wanted to just touch on this results page and let me see if I can zoom in. You'll see the figure up there of the lake, and the blue stars represent the locations where the pilot study was performed. So those were residents who came forward and they wanted to pull weeds either by hand or raking, and they had to apply for an application with the town. So we did a wetlands administrative approval. And once everyone was approved, they got the okay to go out and use their approved method to remove the pondweed. So we got a pretty good range of places around the lake, which is nice for any sort of study. You always want some diversity. We did do it at the town beach as well. And then if you look down at table 1, this is a summary of the results, which I think is where the meat of the information is. If you read through, there's 5 properties that we got good results from. And by good, I mean we got usable information. So there was obviously a leaning towards hand pulling being a more effective method, especially when residents were able to pull the roots along with the plant. I think this makes sense to most people. If you pull the roots out, it's less likely to come back up again. You might get some longer term management. And some other methods were tested. I know at Lakeview, there was a Y cutter that was tested along with diving and pulling, so kind of multi-method plan. And it seems that it was a good method for removal, but it did end up breaking the plant and maybe bits started floating away. And then Sunny Slopes, the commercial rake was deployed not with a motorized boat or anything, but a large size rake. It was at 6 to 9 foot depth, and the roots remained with this just raking method, which is kind of what you'd expect if you're just pulling it along the surface. So I'm going to switch from this report, which you're all welcome to ask any questions at the end of my kind of summary here. I'm happy to answer any questions on the report. But I like to switch gears and show you the plan for this year. So I made some modifications to the plan based on last year's results. The main thing that we really wanted to do was start the pulling or the raking earlier this year. So I was thinking the time frame between April 1st and May 31st. This gives us a full, the applications would be due between April 1st and May 31st, and then you would have until July 1st to conduct the pulling, which gives a little more time between when we're pulling and when the plant is seeding in that late summer fall period. I also added some language just identifying that, weeds that are pulled or cut have to be collected and disposed of outside the lake so we don't get any floating plants that are going down to other people's houses. That's not something that we want. And so the main bulk of the methodology is up here under the Class Bean Pondweed title. And then if you look at this part, I just think it's important that we note in sort of this public notice that hand pulling by group efforts was most effective. If anyone's looking for a way to, long-term management, I think this might be the road to go, but 1 year of data does not tell the whole story. So I want to keep checking in with the residents who apply for this permit every year, see how it's going, see what methods they use. And after a few years, I think we'll get a good idea of what's really working out there. But our first year of data says, okay, hand pulling by pulling those roots out, that's probably a good way to go. And so this pamphlet, I don't, pamphlet, whatever, the educational information that we want to disseminate. It shows two different methods that are approved, which are raking and hand pulling, and it gives a little more information on those. And then a detailed raking removal method, because I think, it's a little less self-explanatory than hand pulling. And then just pictures of types of rakes that could be used to perform the pulling. So if any residents wanted to become a part of the program this year, they would have to come to the town hall building department. They would fill out a wetlands application form, and they would have to provide the methodology that they plan to use, obviously the location of removal, the approximate size of removal, and I'm going to be there to guide everyone on those applications and be the contact point for it. And then those applications will be approved administratively, and a legal ad will be put out altogether, and then work can effectively begin. Ideally, April 1st. I know that's a little soon, so it may end up being May 1st to July 1st, and I'm okay if that date moves out a little bit. But that's the gist of it, and hopefully I didn't go too quickly through that, but I wanted to make sure that everyone had time to kind of ask any follow-up questions or come with recommendations, because I'm always happy to hear, from other people and what they think could work. I mean, you are residents on the lake, so you know the lake best. I think it would be important to ask TRC as well for a threshold of pondweed in our lake to see if we're kind of maintaining that 11%, if we're starting to exceed it, if it's really becoming more of a widespread nuisance. We can look at alternatives, but for now, this seems like an effective removal method for residents to be able to use their swim areas. So yeah, with that, I'll open it up to any questions you might have.
Thank you, Susanna.
Yeah.
Are those permits from last year still good for the following year, like 2 years, or is it every year you have to do the permit?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we can look at doing longer year permits. Last year was just the pilot program, so it was just for the 1 year. But let me write that down, because I wouldn't be opposed to doing a longer term permit for this year for everyone who applied.
I'd like to make a couple of observations.
Yeah.
One, leaving the roofs intact and in the bottom of the lake has certain advantages. Now, you can't obviously hand pulling it. Sometimes the roof comes, sometimes it doesn't. But leaving the roofs in doesn't disturb the soils at the bottom of the lake. But what it does do is interrupt the reproductive cycle of the plants so that seeds aren't dropped. And by leaving 6 inches at the bottom, it's still providing all the beneficial things we talked about, albeit a little bit less. It's still taking nutrients out of the water and so forth. It does grow back some, but when I did it, it didn't grow back enough to get into the swimming area. Second observation is that it might be a good idea to recommend to people who are thinking of making an application to include the areas that their boat travels in, or their mooring where their boat floats, because in July and August, after things start to seed, those things are getting cut off by the boats and by moorings, because when it gets up to the surface, the floating of the boat around or the floating of the mooring chain around cuts it off and helps spread seeds more. We're never going to stop the full spread of seeds, because people driving by the island where the stuff is and so forth, the boats are going to cut it up some. But there could be a little bit of help if people along the shoreline consider where the boat channel was or where their mooring was, and doesn't need to be part of the application. It might be just helpful information. The other thing that I'll observe is that the hand pulling is very hard doing it with a snorkel, which is what I did, because of the fact that you're down and up all the time, and it really is most prudent to do if you had a hook rig or a scuba diving thing. So it may be practical to give people guidance. The easiest thing to physically to clear a larger area is really.
Can I ask you a question? So will you be, participating in this again, sort of observe, so where you're saying you left, there was some growth, right? I'd be interested in knowing, well, the second season, how far is that? Is that return to the top or how long is it?
It dies at the end of the season. It's newly seeded every year, so it did go from, there was no controlling where it broke off. I yanked it, some of it broke off and right at the bottom, and some of it was up a foot or whatever. But it was all below 2 feet in September, so you could swim on the surface without touching it, and what had regrown did not flower.
Okay.
Which was the other valuable.
It is valuable. So maybe it wasn't mature enough to actually flower at the point where it would usually seed, right?
Right, because we had, we had, by picking it, the growth pattern had been interrupted, so yes, I would agree it would continue to grow, but since it was past flowering point in time, it missed the opportunity. If we were in a warmer environment, say in New Jersey or something, it might continue to flower in September, but.
Yeah.
Question.
No.
Yeah, Henry, when you were doing that, are you actually cutting the plant or just?
I'm grabbing a handful of them and pull it.
So, okay, so some of the roots are coming.
Some will come, it really depends on the hardiness of the plant and what the soil, how embedded the roots are, what kind of soil they're.
Yeah, I saw
It's
it.
no easy task pulling the roots out. They're in there, and they're pretty good. So most of the time you're breaking the plants.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we're capturing anybody who's online too, if anybody has any questions. And Mary are off mute, so I wasn't sure if there was something that you wanted
Yeah,
to ask.
just to build on what Savannah has done, and Savannah, thank you. You did a terrific job with the pilot last year and your recommendations. And what Henry has just suggested in his first comments, there's a very specific time before the reproductive buds generate and germinate. And that time per TRC, and we can check also with Greg Bugsby at Connecticut Agriculture. I have those notes from 2 years ago, is typically from April to mid-June. Stretching it to July may be that we're now cutting and spreading seeds. So Savannah, I'd suggest that we can get that data for you and be able to support what you're saying. The second thing is, last year we were very specific per TRC and per the Connecticut agricultural station, not DEEP, part of DEEP, and Dr. Bugsby, that there be a specific specified area agreed upon. And I think, Savannah, you said you would look at each application and be able to conduct that. I'd like to ask Mike Scalise also to weigh in. I know he and Greg Stryker have been talking about something similar to a goose patrol. Mike, have you or Greg built on that idea about a weed patrol?
Yeah, we thought about doing like double duty with that and being able to maybe cut or pull weeds around the lake at other places, instead of in front of just our own yard there. And we haven't really done anything formal about it yet or really talked that much about it, but it's cranking around in there.
Michael Nazzo here, Woodland Terrace. Hey, I just, if anybody needs it, I do have a powered snorkel set up. It's a 110 volt. And if someone who's doing some harvesting wants to borrow that, happy to share it. It's got 2 snorkels, so you can either run one or 2 people can work together.
Cool.
Beautiful.
Thank you for the suggestion.
Thank you, Mark. Henry?
I think all of this is excellent. We probably should ask the other people that were in the pilot to, we can make kind of between now and April first or maybe May first, make a little outline or memo of observations that might be called helpful hints or something, as opposed to anything that's, you have to do this, or you gotta do it this way, or whatever, but here are some things to consider so that people can do the job most effectively. If they're thinking about going out and hand pulling and take all the application out, but find they can't hold their breath long enough, that we're only gonna get 6 plants harvested. But if they know that they can go to Michael Nazo and borrow the snorkel, we'll do far better. So, that we just need to kind of pull it all together.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Could I make a suggestion that the subcommittee of the geese patrol take on the potential of a weed patrol, and Michael and Greg, in conjunction with myself and Savannah, we can coordinate this, discuss it at the April LMAC meeting, and even, set a timeline that's a stretch for all of us, but start April 15th and go through June 15th. Give a good 6 to 8 week period of time for people to apply and do this.
Mhm.
Can I make that suggestion or motion if needed?
I'd like to make one more observation if I could. I think it's great to get the applications in. I would also, though, recommend that people do the harvesting in June because two things. The plant's longer and easier to get a hold of and with a rake or with a hand at that point in time. And the second thing is the period of regrowth is thereby shortened.
Okay.
It's a good point.
It sounds like we have general consensus, this is a successful pilot and that we want to continue. And there are some good recommendations here too of learning from our experiences. And that seems like, Savannah, you're the central point because they're going to be coming to you for permits, right? And so you can provide some of this anecdotal information about how to best go about this or best practices.
Yeah, absolutely. This has all been really helpful. I've been taking notes as we're talking, and I'll modify a few things. I agree that making it an open approach of, these are your options, this is what you can do, and if they have any questions on what worked or didn't work, I can get into more detail. I do have information from the residents who did it in the past too. I received emails at the end of the season. I requested, a summary, and they gave me them, so I can build off of that and add a little more detail to that info sheet you have.
And Frank, if I could just quickly, I wanted to compliment Savannah on her report. It was very well written. It was set up like a proper scientific report, and it was very well done. I really appreciated it. So thank you, Savannah.
Thank you. My master's comes in useful sometimes.
I'd like to move that we support the inland wetlands agent with respect to the ongoing removal of pondweed in accordance with the reports he submitted tonight.
Is that a motion?
Second? Yes. Second by Michael. Any further discussion on this motion? Clarification. Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions? Motion is approved. Excellent. Well,
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you, Savannah.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, so please, man.
I'm not leaving yet. Yeah.
Okay, we want to talk about the Willow Straw.
All right. Hold on just for
Before we leave, we'll lose again.
but thank you, Mike, also for offering the snorkel. I think I'm gonna enlist my son to do it because it's gonna be really cold in April. So,
And trust me, the kids love it. So it's a great way to entice them to do it.
Sounds like a summer job here for somebody here.
Sorry. Well, we move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the audience of citizens. Appreciate the ground rules that were posted on the website, so that was helpful. Holding it up to those who have joined us. Michael and Judy. Anything?
No, nothing for me. Michael Nazo here, Woodland Terrace. Just here to listen and contribute.
Thank you. Judy?
I just want to commend the diligence of the membership right now in tackling a wide variety of projects that are so needed for the lake. Thank you all.
Thank you, Judy. Judy, what's your address just for,
5 Lakewoods Lane.
thank you.
I did have one other thought.
Mhm.
Relative to the considerable work that Savannah has done, is there any value? I'm not sure what the notification process has been for this pilot. I'm not, and the application process. I'm not sure if you are satisfied with the level of participation now. If there's any more broad-based any value in more broad-based notification of this project to increase participation. Just a thought.
Good point.
CLA can certainly send out a notice about it.
Yeah, that would be great. I
Sure.
agree. I think it's something we could work on. You know, we could even send letters out to communities in the lake,
Mhm.
notifying them. That's a really good point.
April newsletter, we just did the March newsletter. So, and that's my gov could have a link back to the website to get your application.
Henry?
Do we want to amend the agenda to allow us to discuss the oil spill so that Savannah can break away?
I'm sorry.
So I move that we take up the oil spill at this time.
Okay, that concludes the citizen. There's a motion to add the discussion of the oil spill, with Savannah present. As their second. Second, Phil's. All. Further discussion. None?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No.
Aye.
I think, yes.
I think, I think that this will.
You're in or out, yeah.
There,
All right, let's proceed then with, discussion. Mark, do you
So-
have some updates? Or
in your packets, just dig down a little,
did the
few
few
pages.
online get this?
It was all mailed out Monday, so Muffy and Mary did not get it. I'm sure Judy doesn't have it. Unless Judy, did you get it being on Lakewood Lane?
No, that's Judy Dunham, not Judy Preston.
Oh, okay. So this letter spelled out basically, when the oil spill started, it was detected on Saturday, November 22nd. At 10 Upper Woodland Terrace. And the first respondents was, the first selectman, Steve Everett, the fire chief, and, Savannah, our wetlands agent. And Deep was notified and eventually what happened was that the Deep emergency spill team responded. And Savannah, do you want to take it from there? Just kind of walk through the steps of working with Deep and with Sally Crop from Crop.
Yeah, let me just,
Environmental.
sorry, I'm just pulling up the letter. Give me one sec. Okay, there it is.
So while Savannah's pulling that up, Deep did the investigation first of all and determined that the 10 Upper Woodland Terrace was an oil tank that was leaking. And they also assessed the risk to the lake in the lake bed. And they immediately installed mitigation measures between the source of the oil tank and Columbia Lake. Which was all the containment oil tubes in all the drain outlets and at the outlet right for the lake. And then they did booms, sequential booms along the bottom of the lake bed. And based on their assessment, there was no impact to the lake. It was identified and a removal effort was focused on the area of the immediate approximation to the source, which means the house and the yard. And they contacted the property owner, and the insurance company hired Crop Environmental. And Savannah, did you find the letter?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, we can take it from there.
Sure. So, yeah, so Crop Environmental is in charge of the cleanup and they're in charge of maintaining the booms. I'm sure anyone who lives on Upper Woodland Terrace is well aware. They have these giant vac trucks that are effectively sucking out all the contaminated soil. And it's a tedious process, especially with the snow that is on the ground and the frozen soil. They get ice chunks in their vacuum truck that can clog things up and slow things down. So it's been taking a while, and I think longer than anyone anticipated, which can be frustrating for everyone involved, including the residents who have to go around these large trucks on their road. And Mark and I heard these statements from the residents and responded in a way we hope was sufficient. Mark went ahead and contacted the fire department and the emergency response to make sure that they were aware that there were kind of implications on the street there if vehicles were sent out that could waylay them. So if there is a call, they're aware that there are vehicles there during the day. And then also we have a list of phone numbers to contact Sally Crop and whoever's working on the site so that if you cannot get by with your vehicle, you can call them and they will come out and move it immediately, which I have heard just hearsay that they've been really good about moving them. So I hope that's true and I hope it continues that way. There has been some follow-up at the December 1st wetlands meeting. We talked about the spill event. And essentially, the commission was made aware of everything that happened. And after that meeting, we discussed, if there was going to be any action on the Conservation Commission, or excuse me, Wetlands Commission side of things. And at that time, I received email responses that no, there's no further action needed because DEEP had deemed that there was no impact to the lake during their initial investigation. And just to talk about that, kind of to get off track here for a minute, but we did have a conversation with DEEP regarding their initial investigation, Mark, myself, and Stephen Everett, and they made us aware that it only would be a lasting impact to the lake if the oil sheen on top of the water had remained for a longer period of time. There's some threshold that they have in their procedures that it would have to remain for so many days before it be considered an impact to the lake. And as you're all aware, oil floats on top of water. So as far as DEEP's concerned, it stayed on top of the water and did not get into the lake bed. And I also want to note that there's a section in this letter which addresses the public well that's on Upper Woodland Terrace. It has been tested by Eastern Highland. It will be tested again. So far, it is negative, free of any petroleum contaminants. I believe they tested 2 other wells. This section was written by our Eastern Highland department, but yeah, it says follow-up tests are going to be conducted on the 3rd or the 4th. And they did test at least 1 other private well, and it was also negative.
Plus, Crop put a test well right at the corner of the property, outside the driveway in the corner. So that's a test well, an indicator well, sampling area to see if any oil is migrating.
You're watching for a plume to develop.
Right. So, and also Sally Crop was in this meeting we had Monday with DEEP, both Tom Welch and Gunner. What's Gunner's last name?
Norbeck? Gunner Norbeck?
Right. So they both stated that right now the garage has been excavated and replaced with cement. Any excavation they take out, they replace it with cement columns and re-establish the garage. Now they're cleaning underneath the house, sucking all the oily dirt that's under the house. Next, they think this week and following, they're gonna be excavating the front yard as soon as we get some warm weather, front yard and side yard, and remove the yard. And then they're going to do a cleaning of our drainage system all the way to the lake. And I know Judy Dunn was concerned with how's that gonna work, and Sally Crop said they'll have a truck blasting water at the source, and they'll have another vac truck sucking up the water at the outlet. So no water will discharge into the lake from this.
That's the
clean.
flushing.
The
flush.
flushing, yeah.
Thank
the
you.
stormwater.
And John Dilworth, I mentioned too, has been a huge help. He's been our eyes and ears daily on the site, calls me with lots of things. And he's even volunteered that the neighbors can have packages delivered to his house because he's not interfered at all. And Mike Nazel, I've been working with Mike and put Mike directly in charge with Sally Crop, trying to get even some better ways because Mike was having a lot of trouble with oil delivery where they were refusing to wait for a truck to be moved and they're refusing to deliver oil. And wow.
Well,
So-
before the sign, it was not intuitive
Right.
for drivers to know that they can even get past. So it was really, trying to get through that. But thank you for your help on that.
Sure. And also, we didn't have it down to more of a science that if the deliveries are made, I think is it before 8 or 8:30 or after 3 to 3:30, the cleanup crew's gone. So if you can schedule your oil delivery first thing in the morning or last thing in the afternoon, you're in better shape. So we could get that exact times for the minutes if you want, but.
So,
Mary, question.
two questions. Obviously, I've been out of pocket, so these may have changed. When a week plus ago, there was going to be sediment testing, TRC was going to work with crop, and the insurance company for the homeowner was to pay for that. Is there or will there be sediment testing, or is there no need? Because I heard you say, Savannah Deep said there was no need.
Right, there's no need. Deep and Sally Crop, they did look at the sediment and consulted with Deep and found no oil present, and Deep said, then you're good.
So
No
no
problem.
sediment testing.
Right.
Okay.
So they're confident that the boom stopped it, and if anything hit the lake bed, it would stay on top. And the booms would stop it.
Henry?
Okay.
I
Thank you.
question that because the water is
Second.
down.
I had a second question, and that
Oh,
was
sure.
there was to be a public meeting, and some
Yes.
Upper Woodland Terrace people have not been available. Has that been set so that
Yes,
they can review this?
March 19th is 7 o'clock.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry, Henry.
That's great, good call, I didn't want to interrupt you, sorry. But my point is following up on yours, I worry about not doing the sediment testing because the lake bed is exposed now, it's not floating on water being caught by the boom. And it's good to know when they flush water down, they're gonna catch it and suck it up. Well, water's flushing down now that our snow is melting. And, there'll be rain events and so forth, and that's draining right onto
I
the soil.
suggest you wait for the March 19th, ask that question. Deep will be there. And crop environmental.
Okay. Are there any other questions on this topic?
Mike Close, the insurance company, putting the whole bill for this, I mean, this is a big one.
Yeah.
It's a lot,
I can't fathom
right.
this cost.
I get
It's
fast.
been 2 months now. I'm going through.
That they've got enough
On
money.
November 22nd, this also.
There's no cost to the town though at this point,
At this
it's
point.
all DEP.
Yeah.
Authorized.
Okay.
Will TRC remain available to do tests? Mary?
TRC will remain available. However, we understood crop was going to take over that responsibility.
And we'll address that on the 19th. No.
I'll follow up. I'll be back home
When will you be
by
back?
Friday.
Okay, good.
Well, I'll take a look.
Call me when you're rested and ready.
Great.
To get back into it.
Thank you for covering this topic. Thank you, Savannah, for staying
Yeah.
online and for
Thanks,
your
Savannah.
report.
No problem. No problem. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
This March 2 letters in our pack, is that to us or to the
It's
town?
all the neighbors, lower, upper and lower Woodland Terrace and the board of,
Thank you.
All right, that concludes really the additional item that you had brought up to the motion of addressing the oil spill, so we'll go back to our agenda.
One quick question. Is it public
Yes, sir.
information and that letter should go to the town? I think this leads into early detection and rapid response.
Mhm.
What was your question, Mary? Should it be,
That's
put
a
on the
public,
website?
public record and that should go to the town?
Well, it's from the town, so it is a town letter from the meeting.
But it sounds like we've sent it to specific areas where many people are inquiring about this oil spill.
Yeah, and I can make it available on the website at the later.
Yeah, I think it should be there, and I think when you get back, Muffy, you may wanna determine whether we should put this in a ripples or a wave. To,
At the very least.
Yeah,
I think that's fine. I agree. Because CLA has been sending updates out about the oil spill, so it would be completely appropriate to do that.
Thank
And
you.
we did ask Steve when we were in the meeting, we're a little, we're not impressed that there's not a really good publication system that he has on informing everyone on what they're doing, and he kind of said, they kind of took over and said, it's ours, we got to clean up. We'll give you a final report when we're all done.
yeah,
Well, it's inconveniencing a lot of people and causing a lot of concern. And the only time we get feedback is when we draw it out of them. So, they were forthcoming and, you know, they've been willing to answer all our questions. It's just, we asked, do you have any like informational brochures that walk you through a cleanup? But really, we haven't covered anything.
appreciate having at least a meeting on the docket for the 19th, to bring some of these items up, so. Let's
And
close
Frank,
with this. Yeah.
If I could just ask Phyllis to minute that the CLA will circulate the town's letter to its membership as an action.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right. Exactly what Henry wants to make sure that letter is linked for minutes.
Let's move on to the next item on unfinished business, which is LMAC 25 and 26 fiscal budgets. This goes back to Mary, presented to our to the Board of Selectmen at their February 17th meeting. Shared a few slides to really get LMAC and the board selected on the same page. I thought it was a very helpful, and thank you, Mary, for representing the LMAC in that way. You provided a great SWOT analysis and then a risk matrix to sort of highlight how we came up with our budget and sort of our, you know, the needs versus the would be nice budget items and prioritizing those that we saw that were the most imminent risks and the highest costs. So thank you. Do you want to go through describing a little bit about that and sort of the trade-offs that were happening with this news purchase orders and you know, they cover some of the programs that we were putting in next year's budget, but we can actually address this year.
Yeah. Frank, are you asking me to do that?
Yeah, I wasn't, if you'd like to, or if.
Sure, I can be quick and then I can send this PowerPoint out. We had very robust discussions on February 17th with the Board of Selectmen, and they all get it. They all were supportive, and we revised the TRC budget in a way that we were able to get in everything to date. Obviously, the fiscal people haven't looked at it yet. So the revision was, the original was a $71,000 budget. Included in 2026 will be the base procedures, water quality, runoff plant mapping, base analysis and report preparation, ad hoc consulting time, and the hydrological and nutrient budget analysis, which is measuring the phosphorus load. That was all kept in the 2026 budget. In addition, kept in was the stormwater best management practice. Now, what was revised is we're going to do things sooner and yet keep them in the budget. Because we did not spend $11,400 on the POs relative to the potential septic system on Stormwater Drain 2 on Rodoni Road, that $11,400 has now been allocated. So we have in the 2025 budget 2 new POs. One will be to write with a template, TRC supporting the early detection and rapid response plan from now until June 30th. It must be done June 30th. And to initiate at a cost of $10,000, early detection is $1,000, so we're spending that $11,000. The 1990 watershed management plan revisions. And those revisions will be spearheaded by Muffy. And I believe there's a watershed management special project team. So the bottom line is the 71,600 is going to be allocated some 11,000 to the 2025 budget, and the remainder, but one item, will remain in the 2026 budget. So we're in good shape. The only but is the insurance coverage, the oil spill groundwater investigation of $6,000, which is why I was questioning. The insurance company before I left was to approve that, and Crop was going to conduct it. It sounds like now Deep has denied that.
We'll discuss that later when we get back then.
Excuse me?
I'll bring that up with you later when we get back.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So we're in good shape, and I can provide the PowerPoints that I gave on the 24th before I left on the 25th.
That would be great. Thank you.
Nice job, Mary.
Yes.
I want to make sure I understood. So the watershed plan adjustments are going to happen between now and June 30 as well. Is that what I understand?
We will start the draft and the revisions. The remaining 7,000, because this is an $18,000 project, give or take, will be allocated to the 2026 budget.
Okay, so between this year and next year, we'll get it done. Is the concept.
Correct, Henry. Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
You don't have to wait till July 1st to start.
Right. Good.
Right now, I have on our standing committees list here, I have the watershed management plan divisions having Muffy, you, and Henry are on that.
Hold on.
Is there anyone else? Am I missing anyone that may have reached out to you, Mary?
Yeah, I have an update to that. Let me get to that. I checked emails today.
Oh, that's good.
And Muffy and Henry will spearhead the watershed management.
Okay.
But there are others. Bob Powell has offered his assistance, and Henry has offered to be the liaison to the town council. Bob Powell, planning and zoning. And Greg Stryker is with geese and weed management. So we've expanded the geese to weed management with Mike Scalise. And Henry, you wanted to be on that also. So yes, we've had some updates, and thank you to those folks who were able to.
There's some discussion here, Henry.
I got something unrelated, so
All right.
I'm sorry, what?
I think it was a second conversation, but I think we're all set. Are there any other questions about the budget at this point? When will we have a final number?
Well, the budget will be voted on by the board of selectmen. They would have been last night, but because of the ice storm, we canceled until next Tuesday night.
Okay.
we still have to go through.
So that's what the board of selectmen moving it to 5-pack, and then a month of 5-pack meeting.
Yes.
So no
So-
budget
so-
is,
To close this out so everyone knows, last year, our total budget was 53,750. This year, we're recommending, with what we're doing, 57,950. So we're looking at about a 7% increase, significantly different than when we started speaking at the 40% level. But we're getting everything done. We're making progress.
And then these subcommittees have an accelerated timeframe that they gotta start now. Yes,
Yep.
and
Yeah, do we, have an opportunity to have input at BIPAC? Should we be preparing to,
Yes.
say something there?
what'll normally happen, because we asked all the FIPAC members to either join in person or watch the videos of the Board of Selectmen series. But some of the FIPAC members couldn't make it, some got confused trying to watch it on video, so they might call in like normal, say, hey, we wanna see Public Works, and we wanna see, then you would be brought in for a presentation. But you should probably have a member of LMAC present at the FIPAC meeting in case all of a
I'll
sudden.
be there.
Okay, that's what I wanted to be sure we got a calendar. Is there a date for that?
There is a calendar for all the meetings, yes. So
Yeah.
all right,
I'll make sure Mary has it.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, thank you. This closes the conversation on the budget. We have another item, I think is very timely. The next item on the agenda is the Lake Dam water control policy. And this was something that was intended to be on or was on the agenda last night for the Board of Selectmen, but it was canceled, right? Right,
So it was not adopted.
it was not adopted. I guess the question is, so it's going to the next meeting, which is Tuesday the 10th.
Next Tuesday the 10th, but we should probably talk about the gate
Right.
now, because we do have to decide, do we make any adjustments in light of where the lake level is? And actually, in our policy, when we look at it, we've never really had this thick ice in the 10 years I've been here, this late. No,
It's been 10 years or more since we've been.
So usually we're worried about how thick it is now, it's still thick and it's still the whole lake, so, this is a new conundrum. And if you look at your policy, warning regarding it now, if the snow melts be considered, now, ice covered on the lake, which is under section 8. A thaw increases the amount of open water and reduces the percentage of ice that covers the lake. The reduction of the thickness of ice, especially below 2 inches, so we're not even there yet, or warming causes crystallization structures, but the water should still be below 4 feet 6 inches. So right now, we're at 5 feet 0.75 inches.
No, I thought we
I
were.
thought we were at 4.8.
4.8.
Oh, no, I mean, you're right, we're at 8.5, we were at 5.07 on February 12th.
Yeah.
That's why that number.
Right. Thank you.
So it has gone up 4 inches in 23 days.
We're in a range.
I think that's gonna start. It's,
Yeah, we are historically in a danger zone with the ice that's here, so we have to watch it carefully. We do have room before we get to 4.6, but I do think to avoid criticism from any of the dock owners that are potentially affected at this point in time, we do need to make sure that we don't get it below 4.6 if we, other than a surprise rain that nobody counted on. The snow melt is likely potentially to add, given the amount of snow, 2 or 3 inches when it's all gone. We've almost got enough to absorb that before we get to 4.6, given that we're 2.5 inches over that. So, I would just think we need to be monitoring it, closely, and if we, as we get to closer to 4/6, we ought to open it some, not wide, some. And see where we establish a stabilization point. And so forth, because we obviously want to capture as much of the snow melt as we can, but the ice is likely gonna be a problem this year.
There was rain in the forecast going out Thursday.
What do we need to have done before the selectmen meeting? There was.
Well, you normally have your gate monitoring, which is Henry, myself, Mary, Stephen Everett, and Beth. So we're kind of having a gate monitoring.
Yeah, but we would make a recommendation to the selectmen under the old policy, Frank, is.
Yes, the old policy.
The same, the what we've got for the new policy is on the agenda, and we'll go with that, but we gotta decide what to do, now, because we've got
Could
the.
I make two
Mary?
suggestions specific to tomorrow or right now? We're going to get 1/2 inch of ice and rain tomorrow. That's going to come in from the watershed. We're going to see a rise. I would suggest, based on the forecast, even though we're going to get melting, which will help us because the ice doesn't refill, it just replaces itself, that we probably open it 3 inches and just keep moderating it and keep it between 4, 6, and 5. That's number one. Number two, I think that this has to be a dam subcommittee discussion. Fortunately, we have an LMAC meeting tonight, but we do rely on a dam subcommittee that does include Henry, myself, and Mike Scalise, who's
Yeah.
going to be learning.
Oh, that's right, Mike, you do it. We gotta get you on the.
I agree with Mary's observation, there's no harm in prophylactically opening it 3 inches, but monitoring it. So that we don't wanna have it, find ourselves down 5-2 again, because we didn't close it.
Yeah.
But, we do wanna make sure we protect that not that 4/6.
There was so much ice on the lake, it doesn't harm anything to lower the lake at this time.
It doesn't,
You're not lowering it, really.
It's
been replacing, we try to hold it still.
If it lowered some, the ice would just collapse onto the bottom, but I think it's already starting to float a little bit around the edges from the melt, so I don't think there's any problem from letting it collapse.
Next week.
But you're right, it does affect your ability to read what the true level of the lake is.
Now, next week, we're going to get temperatures in the 50s and 60s. So we're going to have some melt, but we're also going to have rain tomorrow.
Okay, so Mary, based on basically the whole damn committee's here, and Beth is waiting to hear what I report back to her from the meeting tonight. I'll recommend to Beth that she opens it 3 inches tomorrow morning.
Right, but, and then to take a look at it after the next rain.
Okay.
I'll look at it Sunday.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I'll
Mary.
measure.
And I'll send out a new list of the game committee, including Mike Scalise.
Just so you know, that melt has started, it got to 55 today and very sunny, and we had rain and ice yesterday, so the melt is already underway.
Good.
If I can jump in for 1 second to add something more on the oil spill. Mark passed me a note that the town has hired Ann Catino from my firm of Haller and Sage to support the town, represent the town with respect to the oil cleanup. Ann is an excellent, one of the leading environmental lawyers in the state. So to the extent that she's monitoring and looking over DEP, I have a lot more comfort that the town is being very diligent here. And so we can all take comfort in that.
Terrific.
Thanks, sir. Any more discussion on the lake level or the dam control? Hearing none, move to the next item on our unfinished business, 6. ENT plastic boat event update. So, that's something you, Phyllis, you submitted.
Yeah,
Or-
I'm sorry, guys, I didn't, email everybody, but, last month when we were here, Muffy and I were given a directive on the antique boat parade to go to, the first selectman and the town and, give them the parameters of what we wanted to do, of which I did. I went to set up a meeting with Steve, and because of the budget and because of the time constraints, he said, Phyllis, quick, tell me I can't take another meeting. Please tell me what's going on. So unfortunately, Muffy wasn't with me because I was just stopping by to set an appointment. Steve said, when do you want to have it? I told him the date, and he said, what is it about? And I told him that we wanted to bring the boats into the lake that were residents and non-resident. And he immediately placed a phone call to Jake and said, Jake, work with Phyllis and get this done. And, and he said, what else do you need? And I said, we need to have something that states what we need to get done. That's when he said, talk to Mark. Okay, so I talked to Mark. I wrote this little comment today, and I just want to read it to you, just so that you all know, because you don't have this in front of you. I just kind of summarized it, but the outcome was that the rec department had no problem with boats over horsepower for the one-day event, as long as they complied with our boat launching guidelines. And we have Marine Patrol present for the event. The rec department preferred no boats being displayed on land due to limited parking spaces for the Columbia residents. They just don't have enough room over there for any kind of an event with boats being displayed. I then went to Mark, and Mark suggested that we draft a letter to the BOS clarifying our request for the one-day event on the antique boats that may be over horsepower. This will be presented to the BOS for their decision at our next board meeting. I contacted Martha to write a letter to Steve outlining my meeting. In the interim, a CLA board meeting was held. A decision was made at that meeting to override the directive that we were given by LMAC to meet with the town and ask for their directive on this event. Unfortunately, the letter that was delivered to the first selectman was not what was discussed at my meetings, nor did it follow the directive I was given by the town. I believe another letter must be sent to the first selectman and the town manager, clarifying our request and then submitted to the BOS for their decision. Respectfully, yours truly, Phyllis Dunn, Secretary. The reason for this is the 250th anniversary. I believe that LMAC gave us the directive. I did, and Muffy, if she was with me, would have done the same thing. We followed our directive to the T. Mark is here. He knows that there was a letter to be submitted to the town, but it wasn't submitted in what we were supposed to do. And the CLA really should not, in my opinion, have overridden our directive and LMAC. It's totally different than the directive we were given by LMAC for the 250th anniversary.
You want me to?
I would like to comment. When you're done, Phyllis, I'd like to comment.
Phyllis, do you have anything more?
No, I would like to just make sure that we have another letter written to the town stating what we have to do and that we are asking for the over horsepower of those boats. It's a one-day parade and it's for the 250th anniversary. This is not something that's going to go on every year. This is a one-day event.
Mhm.
And so I would like to have that.
No,
Yeah.
Henry,
Well, you
please,
first.
I need to give
Yeah.
a little background here. And Phyllis, thank you for your view on this. Just to back up, and this was the LMAC, this came before LMAC twice. If you recall, this originated with an idea that Glenn Keegan had, and he came to me to see if we could do a antique boat show at the public beach. And he had already talked to the fellow who restored my boat and sold him his boat, who has two boats that he was interested in also having participated along with his boat, my boat, and the two boats that Jerry Krause has. That was the genesis of the idea. And he thought, we could bring the boats over. The original idea, Phyllis, was we'd have pontoon boats there too. We could give rides, we can have food trucks there and music and just have a very nice event at the beach. And that all sounded wonderful. And I brought it to my CLA board way back, whenever that meeting was, and that board expressed concerns about having non-resident boats on the lake in particular, potentially over horse-powered boats, etc. So we took it to LMAC and we talked about it there. And Mary, you can jump in and correct me, but some of the rest of you were also at these conversations. One suggestion that Bob Powell had made was maybe if this were done under the rubric of the 250th anniversary celebration, we could have do things a little bit differently that we wouldn't normally do, and it would be an exemption because it's part of this event. And that was why, Phyllis, we came to you to start the conversation with you. And then it kind of took on a little bit of a life of its own from there. I don't recall that LMAC necessarily endorsed having non-resident boats on the lake, but asked us to come back with the plan. And I know, Phyllis, what you presented to Steve was this original idea that we would have non-resident boats. And then Mark Walter suggested or requested that we put all this in writing in a formal request to the selectmen for approval. And when I showed that letter to my board, there was considerable concern, as the sponsor of CLA was to sponsor the event, even though it's a 250th celebration event, that the CLA is not walking the talk. We're the ones who are trying to get everybody to follow the rules, and here we are sponsoring an event where we're not following the rules. I mean, I'm oversimplifying, but that was the gist of the concern, and I became persuaded that my board was right, that we should not be asking for exemptions, even for something that's part of the 250th celebration. And that's why I wrote the letter the way that I did, Phyllis, which said that non-resident boats could be displayed on land, but all boats being launched would comply with our town ordinance, which I do now believe is the right way to conduct this event. And I think we can take 2 trailer spots down by the launch to display a couple of boats, and I don't think that's going to suck up very many parking spaces. But so that all seems fine to me, but that's my view of this.
And the ordinances, Bumpy, we can look at it, the Board of Selectmen still has the final decision on what we can do or what can be done. And my concern is, if the CLA doesn't want to sponsor this, then we put it under the 250th anniversary, and if the CLA doesn't want to contribute to it, then you don't want to contribute to it, because this is falling under the 250th anniversary, and I'm a little concerned that I understand that you're concerned with the CLA and what you have for ordinances, but that's also the town. And the
Henry?
town still has the final decision.
Henry?
Well, the town still does have the final decision, but I think this was a lake association idea in the first place, and they just came to us for support. And George Washington crossed the Delaware, he didn't cross Columbia Lake. And it does seem to me that it is good to have in conjunction with and hopefully with the support of the 250th. But I think, just falling in line and supporting the Lake Association, which is doing this, is taking the burden off of the town committee to have to deal with this. And we're accomplishing the same thing. We're getting the boats here, to be displayed. We're eliminating the risk that they have an invasive species on them by putting them in the water. And we're, also not, raising the question of the over horsepower, which is always a squeaky.
And you're talking about the compromise solution here.
The lake, because I think that, the letter that Phyllis referred to was in our package. And to me, supporting the Lake Association or basically, just having LMAC take no opinion on this because it really doesn't ask our opinion on waiving anything. It's really, the Lake Association is proposing to, have this and work with the rec department presumably to park two boats there and not launch them. So I don't think there's anything that we need to act to at this point. It's really up to the Lake Association and the Columbia 250th anniversary committee to make peace on the issue.
Well, if I may continue, Henry?
Yeah.
I was told by Jake that they thought that no, they didn't feel comfortable with those two boats being parked there. And on the other part of it, the people that want to parade their boats don't want to make the effort to come all the way out here just to have their boats sitting there.
So we know that. I think the Lake Association is the one that's inviting them because Muffy has one of the boats and Glenn Keegan has the other, and perhaps Jake, in hearing the full rationale from the Lake Association, might have a different opinion. So I think it's an open issue, and it's for the rec department, the 250th anniversary committee, and the Lake Association to work out, not an LMAC matter.
Okay, so the directive that we were given by LMAC to go to Steve and have a letter asking for the direction that is being totally removed now.
Well, at the point in time, the Lake Association was asking us to do that, and the Lake Association has changed its position now, so we don't need to. If the committee representing the 250th anniversary feels differently and wants to come to LMAC and ask them to do something, then we should take that up. But right at the moment, the thing that was brought before us came from the Lake Association, and the Lake Association's gone in a different direction, so it doesn't need our guidance.
Mary has a question.
Well,
Mary,
but
would you-
we can go in
Buffy?
circles forever. I don't really think it needs to be this complicated, honestly. I think we're all trying to do the right thing here. Glenn put himself out there because he invited somebody to bring his boats, and he said to me, I'm not going to ask him to drag his boats all the way to Columbia if he's not going to be able to put them in the water. So that's that. It's two boats. I don't think it's going to make or break the event, honestly. We have a food truck. We have Twin Peaks lined up. We're going to invite Trumbull Highway to play some music. We'll have our four boats there in the water. People will not be able to get in them. We're not offering rides. Phyllis did not want to tie this in, and that's fine with her pontoon boat tours, two of which she's doing over the summer. We picked a date of June 6th. We have a rain date of June 7th from 4 to 7, I think, Phyllis, you had worked out with Jake. So I think it's going to be fine. I don't understand why we're struggling so hard to do something that doesn't align with our ordinances that we don't really need to be doing. And if the event is, and there's a big concern, Phil, from the board that even though it's an exception for the 250th, people aren't going to pay attention to that. If they know a couple of people brought boats in and launched them and they were over horsepowered, or they didn't belong here, or they, whatever it is, we've set a precedent and somebody else is going to come along and say, well, you know, you did that on June 6th of 2026, so why can't I do that? There's a lot of concern about that. So I respect my board a lot, and I'm not, I was persuaded over the course of these several conversations I had with several of our board members that CLA, we don't need to do that to have this be a successful event. That was where I landed.
Yeah, Bobby, just because, I also sit on the 250th. So the 250th is very much aware of this, and that, if the 250th, which will have a report back, exactly what's going on, it was also their request. So, I disagree with, and as we said, the last meeting, people can disagree. I disagree totally with that, decision that was made. So, I will report to the 250th as to exactly what was going on. It just happens to be that I sit on them, so.
Well,
That's why.
sorry, Phil, I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize. I know you know, you thought this was set, and frankly, I thought it was set too, but I have to listen to my board. That's what they're there for. And I thought they gave me sage advice. I'm happy to come to your meeting. I'm happy to talk with your committee with you, and have that conversation with them if it'll help resolve it. And I apologize to you. I know
Few
we
more
worked hard to get this to happen, and I'm sorry that I threw this big wrinkle
and
into the
go
whole proceeding for
next
you.
to Mary and then following Mary, Henry.
Yeah, I'm trying to gather my words.
I think,
Mary,
Mary muted herself.
Can't hear Mary.
And
Hello.
Muffy,
Okay.
can you shut a door between you and Mary? I think your phones are fighting each other.
What's wrong?
Or Muffy needs to mute herself. Your phones are fighting each other, so it looks like you're both talking. at
I'm
the same
trying,
time.
can you hear better when I mute my computer? Because we're bouncing
I
back a
think
little
so,
bit.
yes.
Yes,
Try that.
try
Is
that.
that good?
Now Mary's
right.
fine.
You can hear me.
Yes,
Yes.
Great, thank you. Let me back up to our February meeting. I got to the point where I gave not enough direction to both Muffy and Phyllis relative to this issue. If you go back and look at the minutes, there was enthusiasm and is enthusiasm for something, a program, an event. There was also expressed in that meeting concerns. The concerns were horsepower, non-resident, et cetera. That's been, the bottom line was, for sake of time, I just ask you to work together to come to a resolution. There seems to be an impasse now, and LMAC has had no formal motion to advise the Board of Selectmen. I don't know if we need one. Henry is suggesting we don't. And Henry, I'm going to turn this over to you to explain why, because part of me says for the mission of what we do, and the CLA advocates that mission, we probably should have a motion and really discuss this probably at the April meeting and come to a conclusion that makes sense for the sake of the lake and for the sake of recreation.
Henry?
But we can do whatever, and hopefully what we'll see is something that comes back from both boards, but we don't have, both groups, we don't have anything really before us now because the commission hasn't brought anything up. It was the Lake Association has, and I say we don't have anything in front of us right now because what the Lake Association is trying to do is all within the current statute, current ordinances. So they don't need LMAC to say anything. We can, of course, support it, or whatever, but we don't need to advise the selectmen, this is how you waive this, or and we're okay with waiving it under this instance, or whatever. There's no reason for us to advise the selectmen on anything at the moment. And so I think we just let it
Then is it-
stand and let the two groups work it out, and then if something comes back.
Then is it reasonable to say LMAC is asking the CLA and the 250th to meet jointly to resolve this? And if there are any issues that would impose upon our town ordinances, then
Yes.
LMAC may have to weigh in, and we'll see.
Perfect. Yes, exactly.
Bill and Mark, can you get together, work together to collaborate and come up with what's best?
I don't think we need to do that because our positions are clear. The CLA wants, whatever we do, we want to comply with our ordinance.
But I think, Muffy,
Mary,
if you,
let me finish, please. And Phil wants to do what was originally proposed, which is allow non-resident boats on the lake. I would like LMAC to take a position on whether it's part of the 250th or any other celebration. We want.
are you proposing a
to do
motion?
that.
I think we probably need to do that in April, Muffy, because right now, we don't have anything officially from the commission in front of us. We just have, Phil's suggestion that she has to go back, which I believe she dutifully might wish to, and ask whether the commission wants to do something different than what you've written. And if that's the case, then it can come back to LMAC in April and we'll have to take a position.
Okay, fine. Yeah,
Phil,
makes sense.
is that good with you?
That's fine with me.
Okay. I still ask Phil and Muffy, get together. One can go to the 250th and one can go to the CLA. Try to collaborate and work this out. Thank you.
Happy to do that.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Phil.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Muffy.
Mhm.
And we'll add this to the agenda for April then under.
Well, yeah, we can keep it open, it may just dissipate in its own way. Resolution come up.
Well, it's 8:30 and we're on to new business.
What about the sake of the lake?
Oh, you're right, thank you. For the sake of the lake, so we're going back, this is the educational materials.
Yeah.
They were produced, I don't know, sorry, Mary, I can defer to you if you wanna sort of tee this up.
Yeah, I need some help. We are converting what we have used if you got a key to the gate or a key fob, those educational materials so that our lakefront property right-of-way people who access the lake not via the gate can be educated and complete a sake of the lake education program. So in that conversion, I'm going to need some eyes and I'm going to need some support from the town to be able to make this as easy as it can be for anyone on the lakefront or using a right-of-way to be able to access this. So I just wanted to update everyone that it's easy to convert the materials, but they are, Mark, I can't remember, 40 pages worth of stuff.
Yeah,
And
that's not easy. We have to get it down to a digestible trifold or something.
yeah,
This is the main things you need to know.
It's impactful, right?
Right.
Something that.
No one's gonna read 40 pages.
Do the action.
No.
No matter
so it's
what
still work in progress. It's still aimed to be initiated this season. The easy part is to convert the education material. The hard part is how, and I'm looking for suggestions, how do we access best and have people access this material to be able to be educated and updated and complete a form? And Muffy says I'm too loud. Let me modify
No,
that.
no, that was good, that was
Thank you.
clear.
Hi, Henry.
Yeah, I don't know that the ordinance requires us to complete a form. All we have to do is have people be, educated. We can add a form to the process, I have no problem with that. But I think one of the things that might be helpful here is to consider some kind of, public rollout information, section or session or something that in a way that allows for discussion and explanation. So I'm just tossing that out, Mary, for consideration. We don't need to talk about it, but
Talk about it, yeah.
word of mouth and education. Obviously, we could put it at the Lake Association's annual meeting and have a discussion there, but that's well into the season, so we gotta try to find something early on that we could get a bunch of people together, whether we do it as some part of some social or something like that, but you know, we may want to have it be co-sponsored between LMAC and the Lake Association or something.
Some sort of a workshop.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
We'd be
Before the
happy to
voting
do that.
season.
Well, it's early in the voting season and we can't, we obviously would be great to have it in April, but certainly before May 15th, if we could pull it off.
Agreed, that's my timeline.
Just it, my question, I guess, is who's responsible for the education and outreach and
There is no responsibility, it's all public service. Basically, because it's written into the ordinance, but unless people study it or educated on it, the only way they're gonna find out about it is if the Marine Bureau's gonna pull them over and say, you better go home and read this. Type of thing, so it's more PR and to get effective compliance.
I would think we tie this in with the CLA, communication, no?
What was that?
I would think we tie this in with the CLA for communication.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
that would get
That's not what they're getting, you know, some kind of joint
75%.
thing that we put on with LMAC and the CLA to educate the people around the lake.
Yeah.
Are we specifically talking about lake residents?
I'm sorry,
No,
Phil, what?
Well, no, not certain.
Anybody putting a vote in the lake.
Yeah.
Any boat in the lake that's non-motorized. And we're really, for the lake people, we're talking about anything that's launched over their land. For the townspeople and others, we're talking about anything that's launched at the beach, but is not a motorboat.
You know.
Point. It's gotta go before late.
So we're too late for the Columbia Views. Friday's the deadline.
There you go.
This Friday is the deadline on Columbia Views.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
I asked and I never got an answer to what the
Can something get
deadline
in?
was.
Can something
Okay.
quickly get in?
Oh, we'll figure something out on the airplane.
Yeah, just a placeholder or something, maybe, and, maybe we could talk about an informational meeting or something so that people put the date down.
Or something coming soon, because we can work also with the town to get either a postcard, small postcard out, put things online. I think there are multiple ways that we can communicate with people.
Yeah.
This seems like quite a project, just putting, distilling this down to something that is, makes people take the right action, right? Getting it out to the right people and disseminate. Who does this fall to?
It falls on the shoulder of every person who's going to be launching a boat on their own property to educate themselves. And so we're just doing a public service. And granted, yes, it would have been nice if it had gotten, our agenda hadn't been so busy, so we could have gotten to it earlier. but we're, we're doing the best we can.
And I see your hand raised.
It is my understanding that everyone has to get a sticker on any kind of boat this year. Is that true?
I think the sticker meant that you took you were self-certified in identifying weeds and.
That's the, I think, and I'm remembering, and that's what Mary's talking to in terms of needing the certificate or whatever, or form, because in order to get that sticker, you probably need to sign something.
Mhm.
Well, if everybody's gotta get a sticker, including kayaks, then when you get your sticker, hand them the document.
But to get the sticker, you need to have complied.
Like, read this.
Yeah, so.
The ultimate outcome is you self-certified, you're educated, you're self-certified, you get a sticker.
Maybe that's the article that can quickly be put together for,
To get your sticker.
yeah, you're gonna need a sticker this year, which requires you to self-certify that your boat's been inspected or so forth. Stay tuned for further information.
See you at the department.
Yeah.
More to come.
Excellent. All right. Our marketing geniuses have just solved this.
Love it.
I think that would work, but I think there's still a lot of education, and it seems like the conversations we've had tonight, there's a number of ways that we need to outreach to the people and inform them, so it's a continuing conversation.
It's gotta be fast tracked and we'll probably be spending time on it in April.
Okay.
So I'll work with Jennifer and we'll get something out into Columbia News that's coming soon. And then we'll build on that. All right, we'll have it good to go.
Thank you,
By
Mary.
May 15th.
Now, to new business.
Mm.
The early detection, rapid response. So as Mary mentioned in the budget, we have been approved for spending $1,000 on the rapid response, and then the other 10,000 for the all event piece. So I think that the timeline here is that this both of these projects for the early detection piece needs to be done before June 3rd. We have, as our members of the subcommittee, for the
Frank,
emergencies, yes. Yes,
Frank.
sir. Yeah.
You're the head of the subcommittee.
Oh, I am.
For that, when you volunteered to be the chair.
All right. Well, I think I see that Mary's on this with me, right? And you and I are gonna collaborate with TRC to get this.
We'll collaborate with TRC.
Yeah.
We'll set a timeline very
Yeah.
similar to Muffy and what she'll have to do with watershed management revisions. We want to get it done by the end of June, not only for the sake of fiscal year, but more
Right.
importantly, for the sake of, God, we need this. And we need them to publish it.
Okay. Excellent. Is there any other members of the commission that want to participate? No. Being none, we've got our subgroup.
Don't all raise your hands.
Excellent. Anything else on that topic? No. Launching watercraft town ordinance penalty structure.
I can
Yeah.
tee that up, that I know, Steve Neville was adamant last year that we come up with. Right now, we have through our ordinance some financial penalties that my office can enact, and I have. Based on marine control warning and multiple violations, we have sent out financial penalties. The problem is, with some residents, the financial penalty of the amounts that we're sending out are not deterring them from continuing breaking of our ordinances. So Stephen wanted this committee to actually consider, let's say you get 3 warnings in a season, that we might not be able to launch your boat next year. And I don't know if he would allow that but he wanted some more substantial penalties that people really care about, which is access to the lake. If you're gonna approve our marine control or our launching.
We can certainly take that up. It would require an amendment to the ordinance.
Right.
We're right now, it's 250, but you can add those 250s up in most cases, as each one being a reoccurring thing, so that hopefully the number goes big enough to get someone's attention. But if we want to increase the penalties to do that, it can be studied. I think I would start by quickly just asking Rich Roberts whether there's any issues.
Are you okay?
In terms of denying somebody access, whether that's viewed or
Are you
might
on
be
mute?
viewed as too excessive.
That's Halloran, right? Halloran?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if not, then
Are
we
you on
can
mute?
look and see what other lakes have done and come back with.
Yeah, so it's not something we solve.
Just
But
You're
but
not
probably
upset, are you?
would not be able to get done probably in the timely fashion for this year.
But we
What's
can
the,
resolve.
what was the expectation that we would get back to them or have some recommendations?
Well, I've also asked the rec department, Jake, and our Marine Patrol, lead, which is Brian All, and, possibly working with Jeff Morrison. And I don't know if Mary has a subcommittee in that mind, but I want clear definition in writing that when we give someone a voting sticker, because they passed everything, that these are the regulations of the lake. That you need to follow for marine patrol and define, can while you're tubing, you leave the water? What is the speed limit? Because in deep training, it says 25 miles an hour. Is that what we're going by? But, these rules are kind of squishy.
What do you mean?
And when you take the water safety training course,
Yeah.
it says you shouldn't go faster than, and it shows a big 25 miles an hour.
Where?
But that's not in any,
There's no, I don't know any,
I know.
well, even in the deep, I don't think there's any 25-mile-an-hour speed.
So Mike Nazzo actually sent me, because he watched the water skiing video I had taken years ago. But there was a photo of when you're tubing, you shouldn't go more than 25 miles an hour.
Towing a tube.
A tube.
Not
Towing a tube.
Got it. That.
But I've never seen that in writing anyway.
No, well, look,
So these are all the things.
but that's not a town ordinance, that's a state of Connecticut.
But I'd like, the Marine Patrol is gonna follow state of Connecticut rules.
Right.
And the rules we already have through our town ordinance, which is which way you can turn while following somebody in. Those rules are in the Connecticut book
Well, they're in our ordinances too.
and in our ordinances. But when you get into the nuances of what's safe and what's not safe, I think clear definition needs to be provided in Marine Patrol.
Yeah, but we can't do that.
No, but we can watch the video that Deep uses to enforce safety
Okay,
and recite the video.
Yeah, we do have a safety on the lake standing committee. Is this something that could be, Henry?
yeah, well, it could go to that, but what I'm just saying legally, because of the fact is our jurisdiction is limited to who we let on the lake. After that, the jurisdiction is all of the DEP. So how the DEP interprets things is what governs. If LMAC puts out a statement, this is our interpretation, we would have to submit it to DEP and say, do you agree with it? And so that's why I say from a jurisdictional point of view, it's really between, on those issues, the town, Marine Patrol and DEP. We cannot say anything authoritative on that. We can give our own opinion, but it does not, it has no weight. And if somebody were to say, well, here's a ticket because this is the way LMAC interpreted it, they would win in court because LMAC doesn't have the right to interpret.
Well, I know the safety committee watched the water safety video. It was an endorsement on a water safety license and make sure we understand. Because that is what DEP wants Marine Patrol to enforce.
So how do they know it's 25 miles an hour?
It's on the video.
I know,
No,
but how can
How do
they tell?
you,
if
we
someone's
don't
going
measure
25
speed,
miles an
we
hour?
don't measure
Oh,
speed.
because in this situation that blew up into quite a problem, Marine Patrol was following the tuber and their speedometer said 25 miles an hour. Was, they were going faster than 25 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So that's how. But I don't wanna get into that minutia. If it's clearly unsafe, Marine Patrol's duty is to pull someone over and say,
Sure.
you know, you were whipping that tube within 5 feet of docks. That could result in someone being killed. You need to stop doing that.
Yeah, a lot of it is practical, but if you wanna do the 25, what I would suggest you do, well, we can leave it to the side.
We'll leave it to the subcommittee.
But you could take Marine Patrol, take it and post it and say, this is the way we interpret DEP requirements and post it on the board now.
I appreciate that recommendation to the subcommittee.
Okay.
Use that ordinance. Is there any other?
I'm a little confused about where the conversation has gone. We started with penalties, and now we're talking about enforcing deep regulations. What actually are we trying
Well,
to solve for?
penalties are through enforcing our ordinances.
I think it may have morphed into the next matter of new business, which was Marine Patrol roles and responsibilities.
Right, they're not crystal clear.
They're not mutually exclusive, those two. I agree. Henry, I'd like to follow up with you specific to the town launch and the penalties section, because I thought we left an option open where it was going to be an either or, particularly for non-motorized boats.
When it had to be finalized, when it went to town meeting, and the position that was taken last year, I believe, and we'd have to see what the actual one is, because it's not what was circulating, because there's no option left, but I believe it was agreed that, lay residents wouldn't be treated the same way as town residents. So there was an option A there, I think they gave a little bit of friendly opportunity for landowners to be treated a little differently, and that was not what was approved.
But that's not the issue that Mark is raising tonight. He wants, sounds like, Mark, if I understood what you're saying, Steve would like more meat on the bones of punishing people who are repeat offenders. And I wonder, Henry, would it be legal to say somebody gets 4 or 5 infractions to prevent them the following year from launching their boat? Would we have?
Now, I think that's what I was saying, is that I think they should start by asking town council what's viable here, and then if they say something more is, then we can have a committee look at what other lakes have done and determine what the threshold is. But for us to, and it would only be put in place after a selectmen's town meeting and a public hearing and so forth. So yeah, it isn't gonna happen realistically this year.
I'd like to conclude this conversation at this point, unless there's any serious objections. But we still have a permit to bring forward one, just one. So then, in addition to the ordinances, I think you're right, you're sort of coupled with the next item, which was the marine patrol rules and responsibilities. Is this something that also could be reviewed by the subcommittee before coming
Correct.
to the board?
Correct.
Okay.
Bob Powell, myself, Jeff Morrison, and Henry, specific to town ordinances and legal, has volunteered to help with that. So let's
Excellent.
defer that to.
Thank you. All right, on to standing committees. Michael?
I have a permit. I know it's March 4th, but I have one more permit. Hopefully it'll be the last one before the development. So I have a permit for 66 Lake Road to replace the legs, the bracing, and the cement pads under the posts, the legs. It's a non-conforming dock. It's been there for a long time. It's in very, very poor shape. It's not changing size, it's not changing locations. So, I'd like to make a motion to administratively approve the repair as described in the permit application for the dock at 66 Lake Road, Columbia, Connecticut.
Second.
Second, discussion?
Is this going to be done before March 15th?
He knows it's the deadline is March 15th.
Is this Sterling?
It is.
Oh, okay.
I need the name.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's, the property owner is, Sterling Tooker. The applicant though is his contractor, Clark Robinson.
Well, it was Sterling.
Clarkson?
Sterling.
Sterling.
It's his first name, yes.
And what was his last name?
Tooker.
Tooker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw his doc. It's those things.
And
are
it's
a
in Blair?
mess.
It's a mess.
No.
It was Clark Robinson, I was right. Forgive me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right,
The board?
there's a motion, who's the second?
I second.
Henry second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention.
No, I want to move that the rest of the standing committee reports be postponed to April unless anything is pressing.
The motion will read by March 15th. Sterling knows that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Clark needs to know that.
So there's actually 3 permits out there still right now that are kind of towards the deadline here. One is starting on the 7th, believe it or not, but he knows that the 15th is the deadline. And the other is Lake Ostawamu, who's asked for an extension, but we're not gonna do that. And we did allow him to do that safety change if needed. But that's it.
There's a motion,
Yeah, I move that we postpone all of the other standing committee reports until April unless anybody has a pressing issue.
second? Anyone? Second, Phillips. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Make a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn with much thanks to Frank for chairing an excellent.
Here,
meeting.
here.
Yeah.
Good job, Brent.
Thank you, Frank.
Need a second?
Muffy and Mary will join.
Yes, thank you.
My on
Hasta la
vacation.
vista.
Yes,
Buenos Aires.
We gotta start with a Galapagos report.
Happy to provide one. We saw the giant tortoises today.
Michael's second.
Michael's the
Good night,
second.
Judy.
So.
Thanks, everybody.
Good
night.
Good night. Thanks, Frank.
Drive safe.
It's like the Waltons.
Yeah.